All right, well, now let's give you a little jump start again. Well, the first thing I think we should try to do is find the midpoint. Any values on the midpoint? Now let's at least get well that finished first. All you have to do, like any 2 points I give you, you call it x1, you call it y1, and then x2 y2. To get right, yeah, no problem answer. Right? To get the midpoint, well, you add the two x coordinates, press equal, and then divide by 2. That I say ensure you divide the whole top by 2. Kaelan, you said it's 1, 3. Nicola, same thing. All right, well, let's see who's right here, right? A couple of different answers are coming up. If we add 3 and minus 1, we're going to get 2. 2 divided by 2, well, is 1. And then if we take the 2, add, well, 4 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. All right, so the correct answer for the midpoint, I'm pretty sure is 1, 3. So from that, right, I think you should probably try to get a length from here to here, which is your radius. Use the purple formula, please. Let's do it over here. The length is y2 minus y1. Well, in a case like this, right, we're not using this one and this one. Or although you could find the length from m to n, which is the, well, diameter, and then you can just simply divide by 2 to get the radius. So let's see what we have here. y2 minus y1. I'm getting a square root of 5 for the length. Anybody could confirm that? Right, Amaya got that. Right, Moi Marie got that. Nadia got that. All right, so we technically have everything we need in order to find the equation of what? The circle. The equation of the circle is x minus the x center coordinate, right? So the x center coordinate is 1. So all we have to do is replace that with 1, y minus the y center coordinate, which happens to be 3. Now, I'm just letting you all know, even though it didn't happen in today's question, if, I just say if the y coordinate was a negative number, then the 2 minus signs would touch to give you a positive according to the formula. But luckily today we don't have that issue. So we just put in 3 here, and the radius squared, remember this value here is the radius. So if we square that, the squared and the square root will cancel out, and we just get regular boring 5. And I think someone had sent that. Let me scroll back up. I think it was Videsh. Videsh, you had it correct. Right, so this here is the equation of the circle. Right, so for part 2, let's give you a little jump start. They want you to find the equation of the normal. Let's see what the normal would look like. That would be this green line here, which will be at right angles. So they want you to find the equation of this green line. Videsh, well, I don't know the answers yet, but I'll work it out just now. So far, we have two answers. Two people are saying it's y is equal to 2x minus 4. My advice is, if we're trying to find the equation of the green line, find the gradient of the yellow line first. So this line would have been the radius. It's this, I just extracted this little portion over here, so it doesn't have too much things to distract us. So let's at least find the gradient first. We just call this x1, y1, call this x2 and y2, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And it seems we get in minus a half, or 1 divided by minus 2. You all could agree that that's the gradient of the yellow line. Let me just write it in here. Obviously, that's just the first step to getting out the question. Right, so right, our 3 people said that's what they had. But remember, the green line is at right angles to the yellow line. So in maths, to find the gradient of a perpendicular line, your teacher has used this fancy term, the negative reciprocal, which basically means you're going to flip it and change the sign of the gradient. As simple as that. So, well, if you flip it, you'll get minus 2 on 1, and then you change the sign, so it becomes positive. So the gradient of the green line is positive 2. Good. Sarah, you got the same answer. So you have to use this pointer to find the value of C. Replacing this with 2, well, M is also 2. Yeah, I think when you solve for C, you'll get minus 4. Look at it here, 2 by 3 is 6. You throw that across, you get minus 6. Right, and Jail, you got it also. So this is my final answer for the examiner. Right, for those who write an exam, well, I know I did piece in my head, right? But you make sure and say 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. Show the examiner, you throw it across and you minus it and everything, and don't skip a single step. Right, so we'll try your hand at part B now, please. All right, so let's see how this goes, right? They want us to find the vector BP. Now, BP would be this green vector from B all the way to P. So then let's look at the plan here. To go from B to P, I think we need to go from B to O and then O to P. So let's put down the plan for the examiner. B to O and then O to P. B to O, it's against the arrow. So we need to change the signs. 3 and 4. So based on some of the answers that were sent, I think you may have forgotten to reverse, sorry, not to reverse the sign, sorry, to change the signs because you're going against that arrow. Now, OP is with the arrow, but it's half the distance. So if you want to put the full work in for the examiner, which I suggest, you should probably do this. A half of how much? Minus 4 and 6. And then in the next line, well, you multiply everyone in the brackets by a half. 3, 4, let's see what we get. Half of this minus 2, a half of this is 3. So I can make this a little smaller. 3 plus minus 2 is 1, 7. This is the actual correct answer for BP. All right, so if you didn't get that, I think I know the mistake. You forgot to reverse or change the signs because it was going against the arrow. Right, and now you want to find the magnitude of BP. Right, remember the top value is the I value, the underneath value is the J value. Avidesh, correct. Right, so Avidesh, well, try part C. Well, say. No problem, Soda. The symbol for magnitude is BP, right? And you put two lines like this. Now, to find the magnitude of the vector, you have to take the I value and square it. Plus, and then you take the J value and you square it. And whatever you get, you square root it. So you'll get 1 plus 49, which is, 50. My advice is you can leave it like this, right? And don't forget to write the word units. If you square root the 50, just try to go to 2 decimal places, right? But usually when there's a number that's not easily square rooted, you're supposed to leave it in surd form. Oh, which reminds me of something. I have this could actually be reduced. Remember, 50 is the same thing as 25 multiplied by 2. So both of them get square rooted at the same time. So the square root of 25 is 5, and then I would prefer, if you're leaving it in surd form, reduce the surd to get maximum marks. Just in case you have a real picky examiner, right? That's just my advice. Right, so part C, good feeling we're gonna run into problems, but give me some feedback. If you're making progress, let me know. If you have no idea what to do, be honest, let me know. All right, so the examiner told us cos 60 is a half. Now this all goes back to what's the most basic formula for cosine? Well, as you all remember, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the examiner gave us a half. What is he trying to say? He is trying to say the adjacent is 1 and the length of the hypotenuse is what? 2. And this is for cos what? 60. So all I did was, just draw a makeshift right angle triangle. Is adjacent over hypotenuse. So here would be the adjacent to the 60 and the hypotenuse is 2. Now, if you use Pythagoras Theorem to find this missing length here, you will get how much here? 2 squared is 4 minus 1 is 3. You will get the square root of 3. How much of you all at least made it up to there? Like you at least found the missing side is the square root of 3. Videsh, well, I'm not too sure about that method. It's probably a method I don't know about. Right? Okay, so Nicola, you said you got it. But what about the 45? Sine 45. Well, let's go back to the most basic formula for sine. Sine is what? Opposite over hypotenuse. And they are saying what? For sine 45, the opposite is this, and the hypotenuse is this. So if here's the 45, the opposite is the square root of 2, and the hypotenuse itself is 2. So if you use Pythagoras theorem to find this missing side here, you will get, believe me, you will get the square root of 2. Because you have to say the hypotenuse squared minus the length of this side squared, and then you square root the answer. Right? Now, I think we did a question like this, not last week. 2 weeks ago, where we tried to find the missing side of a right angle triangle, well, provided that we know two sides or something like that, right? Right, so take it from there. So giving you 2 minutes. Oh, you all realize cos A plus B, right? The number they want us to find cos 105. So it's no coincidence 60 plus 45 is 105. With that in mind, well, I guess in you're realizing this is A, and this is what? B. So you just throw it into the formula, right? So you get cos 60 multiplied by what? Cos 45 minus sine 60, right? So you just need to figure out the values for cos 60, cos 45, sine 60, sine 45. And that's pretty much it, right? Let me see if I can help you with at least two of them. So in case you're lost. Cos 60. Well, the examiner told us the value of cos 60 is a half. So I could throw away cos 60 and replace it with a half. But what about cos 45? The examiner never outright gave us the value of cos 45. He gave us sine 45. But don't we have this triangle over here? Cos 45 is adjacent divided by what? Hypotenuse. So it will be the square root of 2 divided by 2. It's just coincidence. Well, not really too much coincidence, but it just happens to be the same value as sine 45. Well, I read so far into it already. I might as well just do it. Sine 60. The examiner gave us cos 60, but how much would sine 60 be? Opposite over hypotenuse. Square root of 3 divided by 2. And the examiner outright gave us sine 45, which is the square root of 2 on 2. You're going to have to try your best to simplify that. Someone asked if you need to draw the triangles for the exam. Yes, you need to do that. All right, so let's see what we can do from here. I guess then you're all trying to simplify it. Multiply the top by the top, the underneath by the underneath. So you'll get the square root of 2. 2 by 2 is 4. The top here, you're not going to be able to do much. It's just the square root of 3, square root of 2. But 2 by 2 is 4 again. Right? And the LCM here is clearly 4. 4 into 4 is 1. Right? Now, sort of. I don't understand what you're saying. But you'll let me know if you get the same answers. 4 into 4 is 1. 1 by the square root of 2 is the square root of 2. 4 into 4 is 1. 1 by this here is the same thing. Now, there are two possible answers from this point. It all depends on how you decide to simplify this. What you could do, I'm not too sure if you're familiar with this rule. It's a form 3 formula. If I have A, the square root of A, multiplied by the square root of B. Now, this is only for multiply or divider, not for not for addition, not for subtraction. It's perfectly okay to say A multiplied by B and put 1 square root sign over that. Now, let me give you an example. If I have the square root of 5 multiplied by the square root of 2, well, you can put 1 big square root sign and say 5 multiplied by 2, which is the square root of 10. right? So you could do that over here, meaning that you leave this as the square root of 2. 3 by 2 is 6. So you put the square root of 6 divided by what? 4. This is one possible answer. And you can all, I won't leave the answer like this because there's another way you could simplify this, right? You all realize you could factorize out the square root of 2 from both of them. So if you factorize out the square root of 2 from the top only, and you'll get 1 minus the square root of 3, and then you divide by 4. I have a good feeling CXC will want either this answer or this answer. I think they might minus a mark or half a mark if you left it like this, meaning that you didn't show, I guess, the enthusiasm of simplifying it properly, right? Start. For part 1, they're asking you to find the expression, right? Now, an expression will not be a value. It will be almost like an equation. If you have the equation of a line, let's say the equation of a line, let's just make up something, x cubed minus 2x squared. What would the expression for dy dx be? Won't it be 3x squared and you throw the power in front minus 4x? This would be the expression, right, for dy dx, provided that you knew the original equation. But we have a little problem here, and I think everyone can agree that we have a problem. For this question, do we have the original equation? Look at it properly. Do we have the original equation of the curve? Right, Amaya, correct, right? The answer is what? No, we don't have the original equation. I mean, if they gave us the original equation, well, we would be so happy. The question would not be a hard question. Quick refresher. When they ask you to find the stationary points, right? Provided that we magically somehow found dy dx. If they ask us to find the stationary points, what would we do? We would take dy dx and put it equal to what? 0. And well, I guess since for this made up example, that would mean we would take 3x squared minus 4x and put it equal to 0. And then we would attempt to solve for x. Now, when we solve for x, sometimes we could get one value for x. Sometimes we could get 2 values for x. Sometimes we could get 3 values for x. But the point is, when we solve the equation of dy dx equal to 0, we are getting the x. Now, I'm going to repeat this. We are getting the x coordinates of the stationary points. But that only happens after we solve it. Right? And I'm just showing you, if we wanted to solve this equation to get the stationary points, what's the easiest way? Couldn't we just factorize out x and get 3x minus 4 and put it equal to 0? And then we would say x is equal to 0, and then 3x minus 4 is equal to 0. When we solve this equation, we will get 4 and 3. So the two x coordinates of the stationary point would be x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 4 and 3, right? So let me talk it through, because I know this is a difficult question. Look at the stationary points that the examiner gave us. Obviously, this is the x. The second one is the y. This is the x, and this is what? The y. Right now, we don't care about the y. We only care about what? The x. How did the examiner get the 5 and the 3 in the first place? Won't he have to solve this equation? And after solving this equation, he would get x is equal to 5 and x is equal to 3. So let's just try to imagine what he would have gone through in order to get those two values. Tell me if this makes sense. He would have gotten a quadratic because he got two values, right? And when you solve a quadratic, you just get two values for x. Tell me if this makes sense. X minus 5, x minus 3 is equal to 0. Does that make sense? If we solve this, would we get 5? If we solve this, would we get 3? Right? Right. So this is dy dx. You think you can expand this out and simplify it, and that will give us the expression for dy dx. Let me do it. I know you all can want to do this. So if we expand these brackets, we will get dy dx is equal to x squared. We'll get minus 5x or minus 3x, that's minus 8x, and then plus 15. That's the answer for part 1. Because I guarantee you, if you take this and put it equal to 0 and try to solve this quadratic, whether by factorization or using the quadratic formula, I'm sure you're going to get back to 5, and I'm sure you're going to get back to 3. Right? So with that, to me, part 1 was the hardest part. Everything is pretty much easy in comparison. So I'll give you a few minutes for that. So to determine the nature of the stationary points, well, you have to differentiate one more time. So if you differentiate one more time, you will get 2x minus 8. What we have to do now, remember, we have two values. X is equal to 5 and x is equal to 3. One of these is going to be a maximum, well, most likely be a maximum, and the other one is going to be what? A minimum. Substituting the value here. So replace the x with 5. Now, if you get a positive, it's a minimum point. If you get a negative, it's a maximum. It's the opposite of what common sense would say. Right? So when you put in the 5, I guess we could do this in our head, right? 2 by 5 is 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. So that's positive 2. So that means this 5 is a minimum. And if you replace it with 3, 2 by 3 is 6. 6 minus 8 is minus 2. So it's a negative. So that means when x is 3, we get a maximum point. How much of you all had that? But, well, you just didn't send it as yet. Right, Avidesh, right, Jail, you had that, Shakti, Carissa, great. Right, so you just have to do this last part now, hence determine the equation of the curve, which means that you have to integrate this expression here. Right, because when you integrate dy dx, when you're going backwards, right, you'll get back the expression for y, but you'll end up with a plus c. You will need to solve for c. To solve for c, you can use any one of these points. My advice is choose the easier looking point. Right, so when we integrate the expression, we get this purple item here. What you're going to do is replace all the x's with 3. So you're replacing with 3, 3, 3, and you're replacing the y with how much? 15. And then you try your best to solve for c. Jail, I got the same thing you got, right? So Jail, you're free to leave, all right? Once you get it correct, the value of C, that is, you're free to leave. Sorta, correct. Yeah, no problem, Emily, right? But class about to finish now, Emily, all right? So I'll post it up, not tonight, tomorrow I'll post it up. Right, so sorta, you're also correct. Safia, check it back, check it back. 27 divided by 3 is 9. 4 by 9 is 36 plus 45. Come on, check it back, check it back. Rian, correct. Kaylan, correct. Nicola, correct. Avidesh, correct. Shakti, correct. Nadia, correct. Right, just work this out and throw it across. Right, so Nadia, correct. You're free to leave also. Shamari, check it back. Shamari, okay, I think you're rushing it. Okay, let's work out this. 9 minus 36 plus 45. 9 minus 36 plus 45. When I work that out, I'm getting 18. So when I throw across positive 18, I'm getting minus 18. So I'm getting C as minus 3. Which means this value of 3, this C here is minus 3. Right? So I think it's a minor mistake you all were making, right? But once you take it down, you're free to leave.